satisfied with the service and the price. So once again, that's Dalton's Environmental Cleaning, 1-877-DALTONS or 325-8667. And I'd also like to say, if you need a ride from here to there and you're in the Whitmore Lake area, you should consider Whitmore Lake Taxi. That's 734-449-TAXI. She does airport runs. That's a $65 flat rate. You can't beat that. Why park? Have Kim come and pick you up, take you there. So, once again, that's Whitmore Lake Taxi. There we go. So now we're back to talk about the issues of the day, and one of them are the Democrats going from the traditional, not Ted Kennedy, but John Kennedy Democrats to a bunch of really far-left Bernie Sanders socialist communists. I mean, I remember Bernie Sanders went so far as to honeymoon in Moscow. You know? I mean, wow. Most Americans would go to Niagara Falls, especially since it was rather close to his hometown.
Or Florida.
Yeah, or Florida. There you go. Yep. So we had this win in New York by this young woman. Her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And this woman wants to see ICE eliminated. She is a Bernie Sanders socialist. And the weird thing is that she defeated this guy, Joe Crowley, who was supposed to be, if Pelosi was unseated as majority leader or even minority leader, everybody thought that Joe Crowley was on the path to leading the Democratic Party in the legislature. And it looks like that's not going to happen because this young whippersnapper of I just got to say, I mean, she's a hard left candidate. And we're seeing this left and left. I can't say left and right.
Left.
You know? Yeah, we've seen this left and left repeatedly where Democrats are going hard left. I got to jiggle the mouse here to see what's going on because we got a call from Todd from Whitmore Lake about American history.
Oh, that'd be good.
Well, let's see. What you got, Todd?
Hey, guys, thanks.
Hi.
Good to hear from you today. Always love your show.
Oh, thank you. That's one. Oh, my wife likes it, too. That's two.
Am I one of 5 listeners for your show?
Well, if we only have 5 of Theron's 19, you know.
I've got a neighbor listening, so make it 6.
Oh, okay.
Woo!
Yeah, wow.
Hey, guys, I just wanted to call and say that I love the first 2 callers in the last 2 previous segments when we talked about American history a little bit. And as far as it goes for what we've got at our home, Steve Green, president of Hobby Lobby, wrote a wonderful book based on faith. It's called Faith in America. It's based on America's history, just like what you guys were talking about, from why we had our first 10 amendments. But also at the same time, we've got a book called America's Providential History, and that's by Dr. Mark Bellis and Stephen K. McDowell, who I guess the Regent University or Pat Robertson's group uses this and they're part of their study group information for their college.
Wow. Excellent.
So not only that, for those that watch television, my wife and I came across a television show on the Christian television channel, and it was back during the time when the Monumental movie came out that Kirk Cameron had play.
Okay.
And I think this was a show that they put on the Christian channel to kind of promote the movie because it's called Monumental, Restoring America as the Land of Liberty, which coincides with anything today or anything in history because it'll never die because that is who we are, that is what we are. And incidentally, the host of the show was Kirk Cameron himself and Stephen McDowell.
Well, there you go. I mean,
yeah, he's the gentleman that helped write this book, Providential History, America's Providential History. So they go in detail on the television show with this. If people don't want to read it, they can at least watch it a little bit. So it's old, but it still rings true today.
So Kirk Cameron is also getting involved in the American history movement. Besides being involved with Living? Doggone. Oh, there's one of those moments we were talking about, Alex. I knew it was bound to happen.
Yeah. Was that a senior moment?
You know, it sure is. Son of a gun. It's still hitting me now. Anyways, he's involved with that ministry with the guy that I used to know so well, and I can't think of his name now. And you're not helping me either, Todd.
Well, I'd like to interject a
go
point.
ahead.
But, you know, the founders of the U.S. called on Providence and God to help them in their struggles, and I think that's a necessary aspect today.
It's a good way to go, to lean on God instead of to knock him out of your party, to get back to our premise, to where it comes up as a vote to take God out of the Democratic platform. Do you remember that, Todd? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, I was watching it. It was
that
painful.
Was a number of years ago. That was during the last administration.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It was during it was 4 years, well, 6 years ago now for Obama. And, it was painful because the guy up there realized what they were doing. And he kept saying, well, we're going to have a vote. We're going to have a vote. And nobody would vote to put God in the platform. And so finally they did some little maneuver where they got it in anyhow. When it was obvious when the cameras panned the crowd, they did not like the concept of God being mentioned.
But the thing is that these people either don't know their history or they know it and they're playing it, because that's where a lot of our laws have been established by is by God and the Bible, the biblical histories of God's law translated into law that man has created in addition to what God's law is. It's all connected. These
inalienable rights by our Creator. It doesn't get much clearer than that. Creator, inalienable rights means they're baked in. And if the government gave them to you, the government can take them away. And if the government's common consensus that we say, oh, this is a right or that's not a right. But when God gives you a right to defend yourself, you have a right to have a gun in your house. Bingo.
Oh, absolutely. But for whatever reason, we the people haven't stood up and been beaten down the door saying this to these politicians. We're just been taking it for so many years.
I think we're seeing the pendulum swing. You think, though, Alex?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. So if everybody's out there taking a listen, it's TCT, the Christian television, Monumental, Restoring America as the Land of Liberty. Take a look, and they spell it right out, and they pull readings from the old Bible that spell this out.
Yeah. By the way, I was thinking of Kirk Cameron was associated with Ray Comfort. That finally came to me like 10 minutes too late, But, interesting you bring up the American history connection there, because we're going to have Bill Federer on here in a couple weeks, and I'm really looking forward to that. I was talking to him, and he said he could fit us in on July 14th. And are you aware of Bill Federer?
No.
We had him on last year. He's a great guy. He's like the wall builders guy that whose name escapes me.
Is that Wahlburgers, you said?
What? No, wall builders. There's a few ministries, if I should say ministries. There are a few organizations, there are a few guys that are really exposing the roots. I almost said Christian roots, but it's not just Christian. There's a lot of non-Christians who agreed to the Christian biblical principles as being necessary for the founding of this country. So it wasn't, we had theists, we had a few theists, we had a few deists, we had a few atheists, we had some Jews, but they all agreed that there was a God and that he had provided, and that's how we got this country. And as part of the Civil War is this, part of the Civil War right now is trying to wrest control and get God out of the mix. So.
Yeah, because if you go deep in the history of God and the founding, not just America, but other nations in the world, that back even in the 1600s, the Puritans that were trying to escape the king's tyranny.
Yeah.
And how long and how many times, and then how many of these colleges that are now so over the top left, like Harvard, U of M, and so on and so forth, were built and based on Christian values.
Oh, exactly. It's right in their charters. They were ministry schools. U of M was. U of M was founded to promote biblical studies. Normal colleges were supposed to be that way too. U of M was founded by a Catholic priest.
There was a priest, and I think there was a Protestant preacher. I thought that's what it was.
Okay. Well, anything else, Todd?
It was a dual concept, though, but God was the basis.
Exactly. Anything else, Todd?
Oh, no, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, great. Well, you have a blessed day and a happy Independence Day, celebration of our independence.
Back at you, sir.
Excellent. We got Tom from Detroit calling in. Tom, what you got?
Yeah, I just, talking about getting a pro-life Supreme Court judge and overturning Roe v. versus Wade. Mm-hmm. That's what the left is going. They're going crazy about it. They think that's what's going to happen. But and the thing is, when God first put the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the forbidden fruit, He didn't put it out on Alpha Centauri, someplace where nobody could get at it. He put it right in the center of the garden, okay? People had their free will. They asked, well, why does God allow so much evil in the world? Well, here's a news flash. God allows everything. So I don't expect it's going to be so much nicer when all the self-righteous Christians can stick their big blue noses in everybody else's business.
Tim.
I don't know what they're going to do for fun after that.
Tom, are you a libertarian?
I can't label myself as a libertarian. I believe in individual rights. I believe that the fetus. An abortion is a fetus, and that's not murder. I mean, there's nowhere in the Bible it says that.
Oh well, I beg to disagree, but go ahead.
People extrapolate their own self-righteousness onto everybody else, and hey, like I say, the tree was in the center of the garden. God allows everything. And, people think that things are going to be so much better by, like I say, I try to keep out of other people's business. And
okay.
I understand.
I fully understand. And until we come up with Sharia law, you're allowed to think any way you want.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a different story where I got my 9mm M9 to argue Sharia law, if anybody wants to argue Sharia law with me.
All right, Tom. Well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate the thoughts. And you have a happy Independence Day.
Thanks. Same to you.
Talk to you later. We've got Janice Daniels. She must have heard somebody
great.
mention my name. Yeah, so we got Janice Daniels on the line. Janice, how you doing?
Good morning. Yes, I heard the melodious sound of my name being dropped on your show.
Oh, hey, may I for a second here? May I interrupt you for a second to tell you a quick short story? One day, I was working on my son's boat, and I said, hey, let's pull it in the garage. So we back it into the garage, and we're working on the lighting on his trailer. And I said, oh, wow, radio's on right now, Wham's on right now, and it was Linda's show. And so it was like 12:15, and I turned the radio on, and the first words, I heard a little bit of theological discussion, and then I heard Linda say, boy, I wish Ed would call in.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Oh, yeah. My
great.
son looks at me. Does she mean you?
And did you call in?
Oh, of course I did. I said, did I hear my name? That was funny.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I wanted to call to kind of clarify the issue that was kind of brought up, and Gary said it wasn't his issue. Well, it really wasn't my issue either. It was Alexander Hamilton's issue. And in Federalist Paper 84, he said that it was good that the British had something like a Bill of Rights because they had a monarchy. And so their ruler had unlimited power. But in America, we gave very specific, limited powers to the government. And for us to include a Bill of Rights, what that did in his mind was give the usurpers of our rights the pretext for being able to stick their big, fat noses into it and start regulating those rights. And that's exactly what has happened.
Yeah, Alex is giving me the look, too. I'm not quite sure I follow either.
Oh, well, for example, the Bill of Rights say very, very succinctly, government or Congress shall not write a law against religious freedom. And so they have spent 200 years interpreting that to mean, well, if they have inserted now, if government has a compelling interest, they can restrict our religious rights. Whereas if religious rights were not mentioned at all, when the government steps in and tries to regulate our religious rights, we say, wait a minute, that's not in the Constitution. Get your nose out of it.
Oh,
that was
yeah, but I
Alexander
know.
Hamilton's
Okay,
present.
I see where you're